The Graduate, directed by Mike Nichols and starring Dustin Hoffman, was released in 1967 and is a film that really fascinates me. Um, when I first saw it a number of years ago, it's a film that leaves an impression on you. I think especially if you're watching it at a younger age. But what really interested me when I rewatched it in preparation for this review, and when I did a bit of research and looked at some articles and some analysis, is that people do seem to reappraise this film uh, as they get older. It's a film that I guess you could say immatures with age. Okay, and I'll explain what I mean by that shortly. Um, First, I'll discuss the plot of the film. I will probably spoil things that happen in the course of this film, but it's an older movie, so just if you've not seen it and you don't want to know what happens, this review is not for you. Um, at its most superficial level, it's about it tells the story of Ben, played by Dustin Hoffman, who is the graduate. He has just finished university, and his life his life lacks meaning. He's looking for purpose. He's looking for fulfillment, and he finds that temporarily in his affair with Mrs. Robinson, played by Anne Bancroft, who's a friend of his parents, and the film takes a lot of sort of comedic, almost twist and turns from that point. So it is a comedy film. It is quite funny. Even rewatching it, some scenes still make me laugh, which for a film that's over half a century old is quite a positive thing to be able to say. But at a more fundamental level, the film in my view, is a critique of 1960s type rebellion, or even just youthful rebellion in general. Now, that's not something I really picked up on the first time I watched it a number of years ago, but it's something that I've picked up on this time, and I want to explain a bit about what I mean by that. Um, so the first time you see the film, or the first time I saw the film, the character of Ben is played as broadly sympathetic. Um, it's a very very well directed film in the sense that Ben feels um, unfulfilled, but it's not just him moping and saying how unfulfilled he is. The director really frames a lot of shots and a lot of scenes in ways to make Ben look isolated. So of course there's the opening credit scenes where Ben is sort of the camera follows Ben moving alone through an airport. It focuses on him, staring blankly into the distance when he's sitting on an airplane. Um, and one thing I noticed actually is in the course of the film, with the exception of Ben, with the exception of um, his with Mrs. Robinson's daughter, who he later forms a relationship with, Elaine. I should remember that because he shouts her name about 100 times in the film. With the exception of Ben, Elaine, and Elaine's college boyfriend, who's portrayed as a sort of older character anyway, that there are no other young people in the course of the film. Okay, so Ben goes home. He's surrounded by his parents and their friends who are all like middle aged and older. Um, and it really goes well to emphasise how isolated he is as a character. He feels like a young person trapped in an old person's world. And the old person's world is portrayed as very sort of materialistic. They're obsessed with money, obsessed with physical things. And there's a famous line, of course, where one of his parents' friends tells him that he could have a very good future in plastics, which is to I guess just to emphasise how artificial really his future seems to him, and that he doesn't want that. So he's portrayed as a very sympathetic character, and I still think that for the first half of the film, like he's quite immature, he's quite naive. So when he has his affair with Mrs. Robinson, you do still sympathise with him because it feels like she's the one that's sort of initiating that, and he's just going along with it basically. But there's a turning point for the film for me anyway, where watching it today, I realized that actually no, you don't sympathize so much with Ben. He becomes a bit of a creep almost, and that's something that I noticed quite a few of the reviewers were saying about this film upon rewatching it. Um, there's no there's no real arc to Ben's character. Okay, he starts the film as sort of immature and looking for meaning, and that's really how he ends the film. Like there's no moral arc to Ben's character. He never at any point in the film realizes that, well, in my opinion anyway, until the very last frames of the film, I don't think there's any point where he realizes that what he did with Mrs. Robinson was bad. There's no moment of realization where he's like, "Oh, this is amoral. I wish I hadn't done that." Um, really, he's sorry that he got caught. I think because he decides that um, actually he wants a relationship with Mrs. Robinson's daughter, and at no point does he stop and think maybe that's inappropriate. You know, given everything that's happened, especially given the fact that the secret gets out and everybody knows about it. Um, and he moves to this really dingy flat near the college that Elaine goes to, and he's constantly sort of propositions her and sort of borderline stalks her as well. And rewatching the film, you're thinking, okay, yeah, he's no longer really a sympathetic character in the sense that for a character to be sympathetic, you need to be able to empathize with them. And in this film, you just with the second half of the film, I don't know if this would be a two-act structure or a four-act structure. I'm thinking of it a two-act structure for the purpose of discussing it just now, because I think in the second half, watching it again, I just did not sympathise with his character at all. Now, that's not to say what's going on isn't intelligent. I think there's still a critique going on there that I think is really important and really powerful. But it's not what I got the first time I watched the film. The first time I watched the film, I thought, okay, this is a '60s movie. This is a movie where they want you to tear down your structures, your family, um, all of that stuff doesn't matter. It's about the young individual getting ahead, and if it feels good, do it, and everything that goes along with that. But it's not about that. Really, not in my interpretation. Watching it now. So of course you have the famous ending scene where he, he races from church to church to find where Elaine is getting married to her Harvard boyfriend, basically, who she's not happy with. But the parent, or Mrs. Robinson, Mr. Robinson, are desperate for her to just marry and be happy and content. So Dustin Hoffman crashes the church. She chooses to go with him, and they run away and get into a bus. And they've basically at this point, I mean, they've basically destroyed their lives. I mean, they've ruined their relationships with their families. I think it's implied that Ben doesn't really care about his professional life or anything. So the two of them are going off in this bus. She's just in her wedding dress. The sound of silence starts playing, and they both have these like sort of 1,000-yard stares, like, "Oh, what have I done?" And okay, I think some people have interpreted it differently. Some people think that it doesn't matter. They're happy at the end. They're finally in love and they can be with each other. But I mean, they don't even know each other very well. And I think my interpretation of the film overall, and I didn't go too in depth with this film. There's a lot going on with the cinematography and with different ideas and things throughout the film. But really, the ending and the overall feel of the film is what I wanted to talk about. I think it's a critique of youthful exuberance, basically, of that '60s theme that was reflected in a lot of films and music and TV shows at the time of wanting to tear down structures, of young people rebelling and saying to hell with our families and all of that. It's a critique of that, and actually, I think it's quite a almost. I mean, I'm not sure how someone from America would feel watching this or about this opinion, but I think it's quite a small C conservative ending. If you get what I mean, I think it's a film that's saying actually, you know, you might feel unfulfilled, but what's in front of you, your family, your job, your home, all of that, it's not completely irrelevant. it's actually something that you should consider important. And I guess at the end of the day, maybe I'm still thinking of my opinion whilst reviewing this, but it's a balance, isn't it? It's saying, okay, it's fine to be young and idealistic and um, want to try new things and all the rest of it within reason, but there are consequences to your actions. And I think that that last shot of the film is perfect because it sums up the whole theme of the film without a word being spoken. You know, it's perfect. Um, and it's a film that I enjoyed watching. I mean, it is genuinely funny. The funniest scene in the film for me, I think, is probably when Mr. Robinson, played by Murray Hamilton, who was later in Jaws, confronts Ben in his flat about his affair with his wife, and it's played completely for comedy. It's not overly serious, um, but in the end, it's a romantic comedy that ended up being one of the most influential and, in my view, intelligent films of the 1960s, and it's one that half a century later people are still talking about, and it still gets people thinking. Um, it's challenging, it's intelligent, and it's open to interpretation. Even for me, I mean, I'm not. I don't think I'm 100% sure on what the film's trying to say. I've just tried to sort of break it down and explore what I think it might mean, if anything at all. Maybe the director's just laughing and saying it was a stupid comedy, but to my mind, it's a very good film. And I said that I changed my rating for this film. When I'd been thinking back to my original impressions of it, I'd given it a rating in the late 80s. I'd given it like an 87 or an 88, which is, I mean, I'm very stingy with my ratings, so that is a damn good rating to get. But I'm going to give it something a bit lower this time around. I'm going to give it um, 85 out of 100, um, which is a very good rating still to have. It's a bit less than what I would have given it, just because Ben isn't as sympathetic a character as it was when I watched it the first time round. There was one or two moments where I was thinking, there could have been a bit more catharsis. He could have maybe had a moral arc throughout the film, but until the very end, he doesn't really have it. But it's still an excellent film, very thought provoking, very open to interpretation, and one that I'm looking forward to revisiting again someday.